Hey, what's up? My name's Justin and welcome to 65 Drums. Today's another episode of 65 Questions where I just answer a lot of different emails, comments, and Facebook messages I've gotten over the week about electronic drums. I sort of like compile all these questions I've gotten into this one video. And I also want this to be like a community type of a thing. So if you think I got the information wrong, or maybe you have a different opinion on any of these questions, feel free to comment down below and leave your thoughts. So the first question of the day comes from Nick, who writes, "Hey Justin, I want to convert my Roland TD30 KV into a conversion drum set. I've been looking at the Roland KDA22 and also a Drumtec real feel mesh head. What do you recommend?" So what he's talking about here is you have two basic routes you can go. You can buy a mesh head, and the ones he's referring to is the Drumtec real feel, which is pretty much like the best mesh head you can buy that's all purpose. So a really high quality mesh head plus a drum trigger. Or you can buy some sort of package that goes over your kick drum. It's not a mesh head. It's either going to be some sort of pad that goes on top of your acoustic head, such as like the Aquarian on head trigger. Or you can buy something like the Pearl True Track trigger that's inside of an acoustic head. Or you can buy the Roland KD22, the one he's talking about right there. And so this is actually a really good question for me because I actually have both. I have a trigger with the Drumtec real feel that he's mentioning, and also the Roland KD22. And let me tell you, they're both great. They'll definitely do the job either way you decide to go. With the Roland KD82, I actually switched from the mesh head to the Roland KD82 because I just liked the feel and I wanted something that was going to trigger incredibly well. It's not that the Drumtec mesh head was the problem, it's that I had a lower quality trigger with it. It did the job for a while, but I didn't like the trigger I was using with it. So instead of buying like a Ronca trigger, I think that's how you pronounce that brand name, which is really high quality. It's like kind of expensive, but it's like the best kind of kick drum trigger you could buy. Instead of spending all the money on that thing, I just decided to buy the Roland one. And also I'd already played it. I knew I liked the way it felt and I knew that it was going to trigger well. So I had a lot of confidence. I'd already tried it. Both methods are definitely great. I feel like the mesh head method, if you buy a really high quality mesh head and a really high quality trigger, maybe that edges out the Roland option a little bit. But really, either way you go is completely fine. If you do decide to go with the Roland KD82, just make sure that you use a protection dot on it so that your kick drum beaters don't dig up the material. Because it's like this spongy type of material you'll find on like a Roland KD9 or KD10 kick drum tower. Okay, so next up is William, who writes, "Hey Justin, I recently bought an Alesis Surge mesh drum set. And yes, the sound module isn't so good and I want to use a real hi-hat. What drum modules are going to do the trick for me?" What I would look at is buying a used Alesis DM10. So those are drum modules that used to be on an older line of sets that they had. They're no longer in production anymore. Just go buy them used off eBay. They're selling at very low prices right now. In fact, some people prefer the older Alesis DM10 versus the newer version that has come out. As far as the hi-hats, you're kind of in a tricky situation here. Because in order to get good electronic hi-hats that are like a two-piece on an acoustic hi-hat stand, you have to spend quite a bit of money. The only one in the price category of your drum set is the Alesis Pro X. And they are definitely 100% compatible with the Alesis DM10 drum module, so you're safe there. But unfortunately, it doesn't have very good reviews. Like on Z-Sounds, it has 2 stars. And honestly, most electronic hi-hats that are only like $100, you kind of get what you pay for, unfortunately. And here's the weird thing about buying electronic drums. You could buy a cheaper electronic drum set and then upgrade the heck out of it. But the problem is the upgrades that you're going to buy and stuff, they're going to cost more than the actual full price of the drum set you already bought. So in most cases, it's better to save up your money in the first place and then just buy something on a slightly higher level. And that way you don't have to spend all the money on buying individual parts and pieces. You just have a better drum set overall. Next up is Larry, who writes, "Hey there, you're doing a great job and I have a question for you. I have a Roland TD15 for church and I've been having issues with toms 3 and 4 ringing too long. Is there something I can do in the settings or tension?" So this is definitely a very common question that a lot of electronic drummers have. How do you adjust the ringiness of the drums or adjust anything about the drums? With most Roland drum modules, and I don't actually own a TD15, but you'll want to press the instruments button on the drum module. You'll want to hit the drum that you want to edit because hitting the drum actually selects it inside of the drum module. And then you'll want to go to the muffling option and just increase the level of virtual muffling. That will cut off the resonance and will make it ring less. So yeah, really easy fix to that problem. Okay, so next up is Mike, who writes, "Hey Justin, do you have any tips on keeping the top hi-hat cymbal from spinning while I'm playing it? When it spins around, I can no longer hear the cymbal strikes when I'm playing." So this is definitely one of the most annoying things that can happen to you if you play electronic drums that have the hi-hat on the stand. So what you have here is 3 different ways to make it stop spinning. Remember, it's actually the rod that's spinning, not just the hi-hats. It's the hi-hats are just, attached to the rod. So when the rod spins, the entire hi-hat spins. So here's option number one. You can just tighten it down into place. Because remember, the rod is just screwing into this like little socket at the bottom of the stand. So if you screw it back into place, it will stay for about 1 week. With my sonar stand, it would stay for a month, and then it stayed for like 2 weeks, and then 1 week, and then I feel like every other day I was tightening it back into place. The more you spin it back into place, the faster it loosens up over time. Option number two is to buy something like thread locker. You can buy this from Lowe's, Home Depot, Amazon, really any hardware store anywhere. And basically what you do is you take apart your hi-hat stand, you find where the rod actually screws into the base of the stand, and you just sprinkle this on the threads. There's two versions of this. One version makes basically a permanent bond, so you can never unscrew it ever again. And then this version is kind of like makes it harder to turn. I hear that it works wonders. I haven't tried it yet. This has literally been sitting in my basement for months now, and I've literally never used it yet, but I hear this works really good too. And then of course there's option number three, the best one of all. If you're just gonna buy a hi-hat stand, buy one that specifically does not spin at all. Now, when I was looking around the forums to answer this question, I came across a couple of models that are known not to spin at all. One is the DW5500, another one is the Yamaha HS1100. And I'm sure there's other models out there from other companies, but those two specifically I've read, they don't have a spinning hi-hat rod. So if you're gonna buy, or if you're like building a drum set from scratch, just buy one of those models and you won't have this problem in the first place. And obviously, if you have other hacks or other fixes to this problem, leave them down in the comments below because I'm sure all of us hate this problem. Okay, so the next question comes from No, who writes, "Hey Justin, I have a Roland TD15 KVX. What upgrades can I get for it? And what drum software would be best for it? Love the video." Hey, thanks for the question, No, and I love that drum set. I enjoyed playing it a lot, but no drum set is perfect. Every single time you buy a drum set, all of a sudden in the back of your mind, you're thinking of upgrades. Oh, I should buy another hi-hat. I should buy drum software. I should buy this. I should buy that. And I actually do have a bunch of different ideas that you could do to make that drum set a little bit better. So the one weakness with that drum set in my mind is that the toms are a little bit small. So you could definitely go on eBay or something, buy some used PDX 100 pads and just upgrade the toms if you want. You could even like add cymbals and stuff. That drum module is kind of limited because it doesn't have 30 inputs, so you can't plug in a ton of dual zone pads. But you can split the inputs. So if you buy some drum splitters, you can actually turn 2 crash cymbals into 4 crash cymbals if you want. If you don't care about having like rim sounds on your toms, you can split all those toms and all of a sudden have an extra 3 cymbals too. So you can definitely add a lot of pads if you want, or you can just make your current pads a little bit bigger. Now about the software question, it's a little bit tricky because I don't own every single software and every single expansion in the world like Mike Luke does. But from talking to different people and from experience myself, I've heard that for around the $100 price range, EasyDrummer 2 and Addictive Drums, those are the 2 budget options. They're great, they'll do the job, they sound amazing. If you want to spend a little bit more money, if you want to buy like studio quality stuff, you're going to look at Superior Drummer 3 and Steven Slate Drums 5. People can fight all day about which of those 2 options and those 2 different price points are the better one. But those are the 4 pieces of drum software I would heavily look into buying. Now for me personally, I'm trapped in the TuneTrack ecosystem. I bought Superior Drummer 2, I bought EasyDrummer 2, and I bought Superior Drummer 3. And they all work together. Each one of those pieces of software, they all interface really well together. This is not interfacing, this is interfacing. So when you're in, you're in. It's like Apple. When you buy the Apple Watch, all of a sudden you have a Mac and all of a sudden you have the iPhone. Okay, so that's it for the questions. And before we leave, I do want to mention that I am a mere mortal. Sometimes I get information wrong. Sometimes people disagree with opinions on what's the best software, what's the best drum set for this price. So that's what the comments are for. If you guys have different information, or if you guys want to just, argue why you think this is the better drum set, or this is the better kick drum trigger, or why this is the better software, leave all that down in the comments below. I really enjoy reading your opinions and your comments on all this stuff. If you want to get in next Monday's video, if you want to get your question featured, just leave a comment underneath this video. I read all of them. I pick like the best 5 or so, and that's what gets into the next video. Sometimes I include like emails or Facebook messages too, but I can't include like the 5-page questions. I know that, it seems like you got to get all the information in, like the color of your dog's fur and your wife's maiden name and stuff. But when the questions are that big with 50 sub-questions, I can't actually fit those on the screen. So keep them as short and sweet as possible, and maybe you'll get them featured in next week's video. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you in a few.